So there was this, they do call progressives the new church ladies. And, so they worked very hard to clean it up. And Penn and Teller said, wait a minute, this is why everyone moves to New York from the Midwest, so they can have this sleazy little Sin City of Times Square. And it's interesting only because on the heels of our church ladies, who are so hell-bent on making us clean up Times Square, these same people are bringing this into our schools. And yes, I'm a mother, and yes, I've had to contend with, you would not believe what I've had to contend with. And, I lived in New York for many years. I thought I'd seen it all, but no, I'd seen absolutely nothing. Wait until your child goes to a, public school run by Marxists. And, Foucault had defined liberalism as pushing the envelope. And he did himself, and he ended up dying of AIDS by pushing the envelope so much. And, he was maybe the last true, philosopher from the lineage of existentialists and the great postmodern late 20th century, whatever philosophers. So you'll see where it got him. And I started to feel, or just, it was just this feeling that progressives, or these so-called liberals, and I'm not speaking of liberals in the John F. Kennedy spirit of liberal, so it's odd to even hear the term liberal come out of my mouth. I don't even know what to call these entities or this movement, really. But it's as if they are like demonic children who don't know where to put anything. We're going to take sin out of Times Square, which is an adult place where people, have to, find it and make it family friendly or whatever, put up a Marriott, whatever. But we're going to take that which is vile and that which is vice, and we're going to force feed it to small children in public schools. So Rose McGowan, I believe is her name, was selling herself as a sexual entity. And I would like to bring that up as well, because I was, trying to prep myself for this, and I was listening to, different people's opinions on Harvey Weinstein, and I was laying down and fell asleep, and I woke up, and when I woke up, it was actually this long-winded, some sort of Howard Stern radio show where Harvey was just talking about movies that he had produced that other people would probably find very dull and boring. The King's Speech. Things like that. And I realized, wow, this is a part of Harvey that no one's talking about at the moment. Maybe it is something that made him famous, but one would think that you could meet with him on the level of his mind as well. That he is extremely bright, and that if a woman met him in a more cerebral manner, I feel it might take him aback. You have someone who's meeting him on a sexual manner, and he's going to that place, and it's coming out of a place that was born of that, whether right or wrong. It's funny. I remember one time reading the New York Times with this wonderful, he was like this young Englishman, but like just steeped in British wonderful schooling and everything. But there were just all of these articles about the rest of the world. And he said it was so interesting to read things through the eyes of Americans, because there was so much morality, and as it should, you know, people should be like this and they should be like that. And, you know, as V.S. Naipaul said in the opening line of his book, A Bend in the River, which I do recommend people read, the world is what it is. It is what it is. And I'm not saying we can't work to be change agents, but why are we championing for someone who went there with eyes open? The words that I hear coming out of the mouths of these women, and if I have to do another video, I will, but I hope that everyone has just seen them by now. There was someone who was with the Pink Pussycats, and the word she used over and over again was, I was vulnerable. I was vulnerable. And I thought, is that the right word? I remember just, it was the main word she was using. And I realized that that was the wrong word. The word was greedy. She needed to be saying, I was greedy. I was greedy. I was very, very greedy. All young women grow up knowing that they can get on a bus and go to Hollywood. Most teenage girls out there I see are better looking than these people are anyway. And if you're not good looking, you can go out there and you can get a surgeon and you can join the game. And there are a lot of stars who have gone that route, who were, you know, born, you know, with a face only a mother their mother could love, and they just, you know, went to a good surgeon. So, you know, Hollywood is up for grabs for anyone. Most choose to say, wait a minute, I don't think I want to do that. What about me? I did not go to Hollywood. I went to New York. I worked in law firms. It was pretty boring. I was a skinny kid and was asked to do some runway modeling, and I did a little bit, and most everyone was gay, so it was pretty safe that way. But there were weird photographers, though. I do remember that there were these kind of creepy photographers trying to get in on the scene, and at that point I just backed away. It was like, okay, did I lose my dreams? Did I lose my career? Blah, blah, blah. I don't know. I mean, there's give and take in this world. That this woman would expect, you know, to think that she's worth millions upon millions of dollars, you know, beyond anyone else, and shouldn't have to sort of give for what she gets. I would think that would be how a producer would look at it, you know. Honey, you know, you ain't, you know, any better or any worse than anyone else out there. And it's pretty rare to find a sort of Robin Williams-esque type talent. And so it's like, wow, they've got to do something. You know, maybe they should clean his house. You know, maybe they, you know, I'm sure he just feels like they're getting millions and millions and millions of dollars for kind of doing but nothing. It's pretty easy work compared to a lot of other work out there. You know, I mean, it's not having to do industrial laundry for a prison or things like that, or just all of the other regular jobs that people have that don't have the benefits. So, you know, this girl kind of got everything by coming, you know, and going. Excuse the pun, but she wants her cake and eats it too, and seems to be able to do that only because it's not really a news story. For some reason, there's a reason why they want Harvey brought down. There's some kind of backstory we're not privy to, you know. There's, you know, it could just be his brother. It could be So I saw something, I saw something float by on Alex Jones' channel talking about the Chinese trying to bring, their little selves in. So, it's funny that they're calling it breaking news. Breaking news is when the World Trade Center collapses. Breaking news is when a war breaks out. This isn't even really a scandal. I mean, this is Hollywood. This is how Hollywood operates. So it's just interesting to see a non-story suddenly made into a story and wondering, why is he being offered up? And yeah, why is he being offered up? Are the Chinese trying to bring down everyone? Why is he being thrown under the bus? And why is it being called breaking news? Breaking news that this person had an encounter with him at some point. I mean, wow. There are serious rapes that happen in this country where people are beaten and left in fields to die. I just have been listening to horrible accounts of terrible crimes, real crimes that people endure and live or don't live through, and have been hearing about horrible crimes in areas that are not sexual. If you're going out, to audition for an R or an X-rated movie, come on. Let's get real. Let's get real here, folks. I was in academia and had the same problem happen. And to me, that bothered me a lot more because I was paying for it. It was a professor. And I wasn't going to class like this. I was just whatever in class. And, I've known women who've had this happen in all levels of academia. This happens to women who are in the Marines, in the Army. It happens to nuns who are raped by priests. These are people who are going into areas where they should be safe. Why aren't we talking about these people? Why are we talking about people who are, it's like, we need to make drugs safe for drug addicts. No, when you're going that direction, you're going that direction. As the Native Americans say, it was going north. It was going the direction of north, the direction of the night, the direction that one is warned against, the direction of the trickster, sometimes the direction of the hero. But there's something about life itself that is a mystery. And we go into these things and need to take some form of personal responsibility. When I was living in New York, there was a horrible crime that I was so angry to even have to hear about. And, it was this woman, and she was raped with a pipe by a bunch of guys, and, was kind of this gang. And she was 27 years old, jogging in Central Park at night, right? And it's okay, you work for Solomon Brothers Inc., you're pulling down, 6-figure income, and you are so arrogant that you're saying, yeah, I should be able to go and just jog in Central Park. So I'm sure that, and I just hate the term given a pass. Am I giving this guy a pass? Maybe I am a little bit. Because the people who were screaming about it were the same people that were screaming about Donald Trump. They're not sincere. They don't really care. They're just pushing the envelope. It's like the people that were, teaching my child, trying to teach her transgenderism in school. They tried to send her to a camp. They said it was actually a camp she had to go to for 3 days with no cell phone, and they were not allowed to call their parents. And at the very last minute, I said, "Oh, she has a cold. I'm so sorry she can't go." Afterwards, I found out that her camp counselor was an unknown stranger who was transgender. So yes, my elementary school daughter would have been in a room, in a cabin in the woods, hours and hours away from us. Yes, this is real. This happened. And I called the school board. Nobody ever returned my calls. It was a nightmare. And that's what I'm concerned about. And not that, this girl got $1 million coming and now she's going to get another $1 million going. These are the demonic entities that try to always be victims and take away from the real victims of this world. There are real victims and there are pretend victims. And the pretend hoaxy victims are the ones who always seem to get the glory and the sympathy. And that's just how it is. And thank goodness for YouTube, because I hear a lot of people just aren't putting up with this.